Guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're like me, you held off on the cooling system, and I'm actually running the stock radiator in the car. But we have what is the only dual pass 3-inch aluminum radiator that I've seen on the market for the ZN6 chassis. This is one chunky unit. Let's do a little overview. I want to show you this thing and then we'll get it in the car. So luckily we are in the depths of the winter. It is like 20-30 degrees outside on a normal day, so the stock radiator has been holding up. I was looking online and everything I've seen on Google searches, you know, you're going to get your Morimotos, your coil rads and all that, and they're all basic replacements of the stock unit in aluminum form. This here is actually the only 3-inch dual pass radiator on the market. Big Chongus boy. It also comes with 2 high quality Spall fans. You know these things are going to perform over time. So a guy by Spencer, he runs a company called Savage AUTOWORKS, and it took some digging to actually find his stuff. He actually makes a lot of cool stuff for this chassis. One of them being this kit. It is a plug and play setup. It actually came in 2 different boxes. All I had to do was bolt on these fans here. We'll see as far as fitment goes, if there's any trimming or anything like that. We'll get to that in a moment. Some additional items for the LS swap ZN6 guys. You can put this in any engine swap you have or even the stock motor. Just know that your inlets and outlets are now going to be on the same side. This is super beneficial for the LS swap, and it's going to make all of our coolant routing much easier. Now he does add an additional bung on this side. I'm going to tie my steam port into this. You can plug this off. It is the same port as you have down here for the coolant drain. But I'm pretty stoked about this. This is going to hold up to all the abuse during the summer months. We're going to have no issues. Let's get this thing installed and see how it performs. So we got this magical unit here. We're getting ready to throw it in the car. First line of business is going to be taking off the front bumper and then draining the coolant out of the cooling systems. We have the old original stock radiator out. I mean, you can just see the size comparison difference here. The fins and tube on this guy, it's about 7/8 of an inch. And we're gonna go up to, I believe it's 2 7/8. So a whole lot beefier, a whole lot thicker. What's nice is you can see that the mounting points where it goes into the stock rubber grommets is actually moved up. So you're really utilizing the space in front of the stock radiator, but we should clear, fingers crossed, we should clear it without having to modify these fans at all. So another big part of this, you can see that the stock unit, we've got the one inlet on the driver side and the other inlet on the passenger side, and we're actually going to be utilizing both for the passenger side. That works really great for LS swap vehicles. I had to go to something like CX Racing. This was used to just run kind of underneath the crank pulley here to go to the other side of the vehicle, so we can eliminate this entire hose system. Just really nice. A lot of less connection points to have to worry about leaks and all that. All right, now it's time to get this bad boy installed into the vehicle. I want to see what type of fitment, kind of a rough estimate of how this thing's going to fit into the chassis. It looks a whole lot bigger, so there is curiosity there. There we go. All right, the bottoms are in there. You can actually see it comes all the way up to these little mounts. I don't know what you'd call these. These were just kind of on the cross member up at the very front, but it comes all the way up to the top. And Spencer actually says you can still use your factory condenser if you want to keep AC. So that just still bolts to these standoffs here. All right, so right now I've just got the one side kind of loosely bolted up here. But if we look into the engine bay, I was really worried. I'm actually running the Camaro, kind of the mid-distance crank pulley setup, not the Corvette, and we still have plenty of room. I would say this is about equivalent to what the factory fan setup was sitting at. So that's a big bonus. And you can see upper radiator mount's gonna fit just fine. All we gotta do is figure out a little S-bend for the outlet back to the engine. Now, another thing to note, if you guys saw the first episode when I put the LS in the vehicle, you'll know that this was a completely salvaged vehicle. I had to pull out this whole side of the front end. All of this is brand new that I've actually put back onto the vehicle, so my car might not be perfectly straight as if it were off the showroom floor, but everything is still lining up perfectly. All right, so we've got the big Chungus radiator in there. It is sitting all in the factory mounting locations perfectly. Fitment is great. Savage AUTOWORKS also includes a plug-and-play harness. You need to do no tuning, no changes to anything. This will bolt up and it'll run off your factory plug for the fans and operate both of these small fans for you. This is really nice. It has kind of a straightforward length to it. There's two ways to route this in my opinion. If you've got your factory battery up top, that is one way that you can run the power lines from the battery. You're gonna have your relays mount to somewhere on the inner frame rail, and then the wires coming from that are gonna go to your factory plug, and from the factory plug, the other ends are gonna go to both SPAL fans. I'm actually gonna use a power source from the alternator, the backside of the alternator, but it's the same thing. I'm gonna run it underneath the radiator instead of up to the battery and do the same thing. Mount these relays on the frame rail. Easy peasy. All right, so now that we have the relays mounted, the next step is going to be the other hose to the bottom outlet of the radiator. I've just gone to any auto parts store and got what is a 1.5" S-shaped hose. Now this is going to need to be cut down, but the gist is you got about a 45-degree angle offset and an S curvature. We're gonna cut it down and use a joiner in the middle. You can do this in many different ways. Some people are gonna cut off these outlets and use AN lines. Whichever route you wanna do, this is the quick and dirty way. These little brackets here for the condenser for the AC system. These little brackets would actually be great to house like an oil cooler or a power steering cooler or something like that. So I'm gonna throw them on for now, just in case for future tints. Check it out. Hello. Rave action going on here. So as far as the wiring goes, really simple. I tied into the back of the alternator here. There's a ground post right on the other side, and then we run straight up underneath this ridge here. It was actually very nice. I got a couple zip ties in, secured, tucked away. And then right here where I've got it bunched up, that is the factory plug. So really simple connections, not a lot to go wrong. And like I said, you can go to the battery itself. That's your call. Either way, it's gonna work just fine. All right, we have the radiator installed, all the wiring, super simple. This is a Chungus boy. I mean, look at it in there. I mean, we're talking about radiators, but that looks pretty sick. So now we got to work into the steam port. Now with the stock radiator, I obviously just had basically a burping port. I'd let this thing open up until I had coolant out, and then I'd shut it off. What we really want is the coolant to cycle through here. So that is where that little bung on the top side that he has added is going to be great. We're going to make a PTFE line, so we can tie the steam port back into the cooling system on top of the radiator and make sure all the air bubbles are worked out of the system. I've picked up two different fittings. We either have a 45 or a 90. I wasn't sure which route I wanted to go on the other end of the radiator. That's gonna kick it up and away from the fan there, but still forward. If we did the 90, it would work, and we could actually tie it up to the top of one of these supports and then curve it up around here. It's really just trial and error, what kind of a fitment you want to have, how you want the line to lay. I'm thinking 90. Thinking 90 might be the move. It'll give us a little extra slack from the motors moving around, a little extra slack in the line, a little bit more to play back and forth. Yeah, that's looking pretty good there. I've already put a piece of tape where I thought I would need to make a cut. And looking at this here, I think right at the very edge is going to be perfect. So I'm going to make a little mark right on the end of that piece of tape. We'll cut this down and get that 90-degree fitting on there. See how it fits up. All right, we're going to be putting together this PTFE line. You want to make sure once you make your cut to get this side of the nut on the hose itself before you put your little captive flange for the PTFE line. And you can see here, you're going to fray away the stainless part. Be careful because that is sharp. And then you're going to put the flange over the plastic part of the hose, leaving all of the stainless part out to the side. Now you do want to push this in pretty hard and try and make it flat. You can use a table, try and get it all the way in there. From there I just use a little bit of WD-40, and we're actually going to mount this guy into our aluminum jaws here. Just like that. And we'll take our hose, slide that over the top. Make sure you're pressed nice and tight all the way down. Come down with your other end. Always try and use AN wrenches, aluminum wrenches, so you don't scratch your nice fancy black fittings. And you're going to go down pretty far. You'll leave about a 1/16 of an inch of a gap down at the bottom. But I'm just holding the hose to make sure it doesn't back out. And you'll feel it tighten up once we get down here. Line up our flats, which is actually right there. Take this guy out. There's your AN fitting. So we've got two 90s on this guy. We'll get this fitted up to the car so we have a proper steam port. So I think that is about where I want this guy to sit. It looks like we are going to have the downward brace that actually mounts your hood latch on the top side. It does make contact with these larger spall fans here in the center. You could possibly trim this enough to where it will slide in between. I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off. That way we'll get this top support back on. Have everything clear. Perfection. Now we got our hood latch here. Still mount all factory. Cleaned up those edges, nice clean little cut. Nothing to it. My shit's a little bent, so I got she's not perfectly straight. You gotta give her a little persuasion to get some of these parts in. Now it's time to throw some coolant in this bad girl. See if she holds up. Make sure I didn't spring a leak and cause a leak somewhere through some of that hosing that I had to put together. I think we're gonna be good though. right, so we just got the cooling system bled. I'm not seeing any leaks anywhere. Now with that old radiator, it would shoot straight up to 182 and that's when the fans would kick on. I could not, this thing sitting here would not get past 170 degrees. So the fans have still not kicked on. I think we're gonna go out on the road and see how hot this thing gets. Like I said, it's still cold, but this thing is looking like it is cooling phenomenally. Can't wait to use it out on track, but let's go do some pulls and see how it looks. Well guys, I can say without a doubt the Savage AUTOWORKS dual pass radiator is working phenomenally. Coolant temperatures are staying within check. If you want to check this out for yourself, there's a link in the description below. Go get yourself one and keep your engine cool.